into our show that is called Real Shame. It's a show where we watch movies from our movie list shame or movie line spots. I'm saying it really fast for some reason. It's basically movies that we haven't seen and we're watching them and we're telling you all about them, whether we like them or whether we don't, and all that kind of stuff. We're in the month of October, in case you have been living under a rock for the last 2 weeks. And for the month of October, we come at you with more episodes, and they're all themed around horror movies because we, like probably most of you guys, like to watch horror movies around October. So that's what we're doing this week. This week, we're watching some movies that are of the, what would you call these kind of movies?
They are considered new French extreme or new French extremity.
All right.
Horror films.
New French extreme or extremities, like the arms and legs, horror films. And did I introduce who we are? I'm Adam.
I'm Andy. Je suis Andy.
Jean-Pierre Adam. I don't know how to say anything. And to kick off our French extreme horror movie week, I'm going to toss it over to Andy to tell you about what movie we're talking about today.
Clementine and Lucas are looking forward to spending some time together over a weekend at the house where they're staying, only to be menaced by mysterious individuals. Oh. Them.
Viens voir. Tu vois?
C'est pas ridicule, je vais aller voir. Et quelqu'un?
So them, or ils, the ILS, which is they or them in French, written and directed by David Moreau and Xavier Palude. And the cast list is fairly short, because really there's two main people, and they're getting menaced by other people who I didn't write any of those people's names down. But the two main people that are getting menaced are Olivia Bonamy is Clementine and Michael Cohen is Lucas. So this is a movie that came out in 2006. So the new French Extremity films are movies that are kind of a new wave of French films that are typically, although not in this case, but typically they're kind of gorier and they're extreme, right? So extreme film, new French extreme, new French extremity kind of films. So that's kind of what these are classified as. It's movies like them and High Tension, Haute Tension is another one.
P2 is one, right?
Frontiers. I think P2 gets lumped in there, although it's not really a horror, but yeah, I think it does get lumped in there. So, and we're going to talk about some other films, obviously of the ilk, so I won't say what the titles of those films are, but this is a movie that I haven't seen, you haven't seen.
I haven't heard of it.
Never heard of it. Yeah, we were like, hey, let's do some of those new French extreme films, man.
Let's do some of them Frenchy films.
Do some of them French films.
I hear they don't shave their armpits.
We looked at a list and we just picked three that sounded good. I mean, and like I've heard the other two that we're going to talk about this week. I've heard more about, especially the one we're going to talk about on Friday.
Yeah.
But this is a movie that I'm not familiar with. Although I feel like all the movies this week I've seen on, like, you know, because Kirby watches those top 10 most disturbing movies. So I feel like I've seen clips from all of these because some of it looked familiar, but not everything had I seen in its entirety. So anyway, I will kick it over to you first. So you get to say, what did you know about them? I guess not much.
No.
Going into it, and what did you think about them?
So I didn't know much about them, but when I was looking at the summary or something, I ended up seeing the summary. I really was excited about this one because the last movie that really freaked me out, the last movie that really freaked me out was Sinister until about halfway through the movie, and then it became, because I have an issue with, ghosts don't scare me. So as soon as spoiler, as soon as you find out it's something supernatural, I'm not scared anymore. But the last movie before that scared me the whole way through was a movie called The Strangers. And so reading about this, about people being, kind of stuck in a place and a bunch of people coming out and menacing them and trying to get them, I was like, okay, this is going to be like a Strangers thing. Like, I'm going to find another movie that I found really scary and was going to really shake me.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, this was not that movie. I was really kind of disappointed in this movie. it seems like this movie is less horror and I'd say more like thriller. It seems to be, there's not a lot of horror. I feel like there's not a lot of horrific things for it. I think it's supposed to just have this air of something bad's about to happen. Something's going to go wrong. Like it's supposed to just make you like tense the whole way through and stuff like that. And I felt none of that throughout the whole movie. It didn't really, it never got me viscerally, you know?
Yeah.
And so it just didn't work for me that way. And so much so that I even marked on my notes when stuff starts hitting the fan, when things starts happening.
Yeah.
And things don't really start happening, in my opinion, until about 40 minutes in. That's when I think she first goes outside to confront the strangers and all that kind of stuff.
I didn't realize it was that long, that deep into it.
So for me, it was like a long, long burn of like, all right, come on, what are we doing? Where's this going? Like all that kind of stuff. So for me, it didn't work for me on those levels. And when things started going, it wasn't enough to make up for what I felt was kind of like wasted time at the beginning.
Yeah.
And I feel like the movies we kind of talk about later really get off like running. Like, you know, there's no like long lead time. It's just like bang, they're out of there. So for me, this just didn't really work for me. I think by the time stuff started happening, the movie already lost me and it really couldn't gain me back again. So unfortunately, this didn't work for me that very well. So that's my thoughts on them. What did you know anything about them before watching it?
Yeah, I mean, I knew, again, I think probably just from like top 10 disturbing films or top 10 this or whatever. I knew kind of the basic premise. And yeah, I thought it was going to be like Strangers or something like that. I don't find the Strangers movie as disturbing, I think, as you. I probably need to rewatch it. But I was hoping for just a good, something like that. Just a good kind of, people getting chased around kind of movie, which does happen in this film. They do get chased around. The problem is
not till 20 minutes of the movie are left.
I didn't feel that. Like I wasn't bored with it because I think I kept expecting something to happen, so I was constantly kind of not on edge, but just constantly like when's the bad shit gonna go down. But I thought it was okay. I think one of the big problems with this film, and we spoil things, I always have to say that, but we spoil things, so I'm definitely going to spoil kind of what happens in this movie. The biggest problem with this movie, and to me what sinks it, is that they claim at the beginning of the film, I think, that it's based on a true story.
Events,
Great, but I don't like the fact that the people that are actually menacing them are just kids. Because it's not threatening at all to me. Like, the movie was much cooler when it was just like people in like hoodies that you never saw their face and everything. And then when you find out that it's just children, I mean, that's kind of creepy because you're like, damn, these kids are messed up. But to me that I was like, what? Like, not kid. Like, this is stupid. So
there's a couple
I really just didn't like it.
Where she could have just like kicked the kid in the face.
Exactly. Like I would have beat the shit out of those kids.
It would have been Who Could Kill a Child. It
would have been. And I understand her husband's like injured and everything, but still, like I would have been tearing me some kids up.
Yeah,
like,
I would have had no qualms about this.
No. But it's just like. And, the one kid, like, at first, he acts like he's, like, nice to them, and he's like, and he, like, pulls the guy off the ladder and stuff. I wouldn't let that kid go first on the ladder. I'd be like, you're behind me. Because he goes first, he starts stomping on the dude's hand, and the guy falls off the ladder. I'd be like, no, me and my wife are going, or girlfriend or whatever she was, we're going up first. You can stay down here, come up, I don't care, whatever. But, of course, the kid's like, starts stomping on his hands. But, once you find out that it's kids. She could have just
kicked down his face.
When he comes up the ladder, I would have been like, bam, just kicked his teeth in. But she just runs off. But I mean, that really stunk to me. I was like, nah. And then the ending, I was like, okay, so basically the end of it is, because we spoil, she's crawling. She can kind of vaguely see the end of this tunnel, the light at the end of this tunnel. She's kind of crawling. She's going to make it. But when she finally gets there, there's a grate covering it that she can't remove. So she's reaching out and there's cars passing on the highway. She's reaching out trying to get to them. And you see a car pass and she's gone. And I thought, okay, fade to black. That's it. But then it shows like the kids getting on the school bus. And like what? And I was like, that really takes the sting out of everything. I mean, it already took the sting out of it when it's like kids. But then it really takes this thing out of it, like continuing this is based on a true story. This is what happened, and the kids were like, they wouldn't play with this or whatever. So overall, yeah, I'm not a big fan of this
the
film.
movie's like under 80 minutes. Too.
It's really short, so that's a plus. That's a plus in its favor. But I was disappointed that they went the whole kid route, because again, if like. I don't want to spoil The Strangers, but like I only remember them with their masks on.
Yeah, I don't remember
seeing their faces. Yeah. So I think in this movie it would be much cooler if it's just these faceless hooded figures the whole time. I don't need an explanation. I don't need it to be based on a true story. I don't need it to be any of that stuff. I want to see balls to the wall horror where two people are getting, terrorized by these faceless hooded figures, and that I would like.
Yeah, and even like the beginning part where they're in the van crashes and all that stuff is not really that scary at all either.
You can do without that.
And then you see that when she drives past it, like the van, which I thought was kind of cool. Yeah. But I was like, that's kind of interesting way to tie these two stories together. But yeah, it didn't add anything to me either.
No.
It was just kind of like it was.
Cut that out. The movie's even shorter.
Yeah, I mean, it felt
like less than an hour.
The reason why I mentioned the time, it felt like they were striving for things to pad out the runtime a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and
this is a disappointment.
Yeah, and sure. I totally called Lucas was a deadbeat the moment she called him and asked him if he wanted anything from the store, and then she was walking around the house and he's like playing pinball on the laptop.
Hey man, I would be too.
Microsoft pinball.
I was like, I remember that.
I'm like, this guy is totally a deadbeat.
Yeah. So, he's a writer, Adam. He's a writer.
He writes all the time, even when the laptop's closed. He's writing in his mind.
He's writing all the time.
Yeah.
So disappointment for sure. I wish that it was better.
Same here.
Unfortunately.
All right. Well, we know we weren't big fans of this movie. We're the critics on this guy.
Favorable. At least it's 63% fresh on Rotten Tomatoes. So it is fresh a little bit. 60% audience score. And again, no Leonard Maltin review or Roger Ebert review that I could find, but it's 6.4 out of 10 on IMDb.
All right. Well,
and I mean, those IMDb scores don't mean much.
Yeah.
Because people are like, it's 10. Oh, it's 1. Oh, it's 10. Oh, it's 1. Yeah, it's like everything is extremes.
Yes, it is.
But anyway, I thought I would throw some score on there.
That works.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that was them. We're doing some French Extreme movies. What are we going to review next to follow this up on Wednesday?
Yeah, so another film from the new French Extremity kind of genre. This one is about a young woman who is pregnant and she's home alone. She's home alone like Macaulay Culkin, and another mysterious person comes to her home, and she wants a little bit of that baby. She wants a little piece of that baby.
Rosemary babies?
It might be Rosemary. Rosemary might be coming looking for that baby. But it's called Inside. We'll talk about that on Wednesday.
All right. Stay tuned for Wednesday when we find out what's inside. We know the baby's inside of her, but what else is inside?
Yeah.
So we'll see you soon, guys. Have a good one. Bye.